merry-go rooftop. I am on top of the pedestal, flu shot.
He's not in. A big W.
Unbelievable.
Hey, don't look now, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have won 4 straight games and are trending all the way up. Mike Tomlin and the boys have won 5 of 6 overall after starting the season 0-3. We know all the injuries and all the loss of talent they've taken this season. Stephen A. Smith, can you see your Steelers making the playoffs?
No, I cannot. I cannot. I guess it's possible, but I just don't see it. I don't think they're going to win the division because I don't think they're playing on the same level as the Baltimore Ravens, who already beat them once this season, even though they face them again. And I think the Steelers have a legitimate chance to win that game. I'm just of the mindset that the AFC North is the Baltimore Ravens to win. In order for you to get in, you're going to have to be a wild card. After we get past New England, Baltimore, probably Houston in the South, along with the Kansas City Chiefs, there is the Oakland Raiders to consider, the Indianapolis Colts, even though the Steelers may have beaten them. Again, you might have an outside shot, but I don't see the Steelers led by this team because they have no running game right now, particularly with Connor being out yesterday. They have no running game. They don't have much of a passing attack. Mason Rudolph is a relatively pedestrian quarterback. He's not going to beat himself for the most part, but he's going to get it done. It's the Steelers' defense that's driving this bus right now. The defense has really amped it up. The pickup of Minkah Fitzpatrick is big time. I'm just looking at them right now, and I'm saying no. I don't see it. It's not enough.
I think the Steelers have a really good shot to make the playoffs as the wild card, obviously. I want to talk about Minkah Fitzpatrick for a second. Because we know Mason Rudolph is, let's say, limited.
Okay.
That's a kind way to put it. What a job Tomlin's doing. But I have rarely seen in my life a mid-season trade in the NFL have this kind of an effect on the team. Minkah Fitzpatrick, who, let's not forget, I told everyone this guy's a can't-miss guy. Once I heard, you know what really Saban said, he's as good as any I've seen.
Yeah.
When Nick Saban says that, you go, whoa, wait a minute. He's totally changed the complexion of this defense. It's one of the best in the NFL recently. Now let's look at who they're competing against for a wild card spot. Bills are 6-3. So Steelers are 5-4. They're plus 12 on the season, point differential, right? But that's trending up since the Fitzpatrick trade. Bills 6-3. They're plus 24. I don't believe in the Bills. I don't think they're so. They have a good defense. That's about it. The Raiders are minus 32. They're 5-4. The Colts are 5-4. They're plus 1. The Titans are 5-5. They're plus 6. These are the point differential tells you fundamentally the kind of team you're dealing with. These are all 500-ish teams. The Jags are 4-5. I'll keep my eye on them because Nick Foles. They're minus 13 though. That's who they're competing against. They're competing against these teams
you're
for
fair.
the wild card.
They could easily get a wild card.
And when you look at fundamentally who's the best team right now in terms of the way they're playing, the Minkah Fitzpatrick addition to that defense means I think the Steelers are actually the best. Okay, if the Colts have Brissett available, you can argue the Colts. But otherwise, and let's see what happens with Foles. But the Steelers are right there. I think they could easily win a wild card.
Well, you have a good point because what we can't ignore is what, my man Champ always brings this up when he raves about the Ravens. He raves about other teams, actually, and he talked about the Ravens' schedule. And listen, I'm looking at their schedule right now. Houston Texans, Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco 49ers, Buffalo Bills. These are the teams that you are going up against if you're the Ravens. But I see vulnerabilities with all of them. We saw them with the Rams yesterday. There's just something missing. With the Houston Texans, you obviously got Bill O'Brien and his staff on the defensive side of the ball. They may not necessarily break too much, but they break just enough. They should be better. When we're looking at the Buffalo Bills, we see them with Josh Allen as their quarterback right now. It's still a question mark. I mean, we saw what happened with them yesterday against Cleveland. They should have won that game. And, of course, there's Cleveland as well. So I just view Baltimore, this being their division to have, and I
agree with Baltimore for the division, but, now look at the Steelers' schedule for the wild card. They got the Browns twice, the Bengals, Cardinals, Bills, Jets, and Ravens. Let's say they split with the Browns. I think the Browns are playing better. They beat the Bengals, Cardinals, and it's not a given.
They totally have a shot.
Bills, Jets, and they lose to the Ravens. In other words, if they could wind up 10-6 or 9-7.
It's not the NFC. But as for how well the defense is playing, Stephen A., you have to be optimistic about next season. Obviously, this defense getting Big Ben back, you could really make some noise. But I want to talk about the Packers. They are looking like Super Bowl contenders. As for the Panthers, it appears their luck has run out under Kyle Allen in a 2014-16 loss. Carolina now 5-4. They've lost 2 of their last 3. Max, Cam is on IR, which means he's done for the season. Did this prove that this Panthers team needs it?
Yes, it does. And it's not, look, maybe they make the playoffs without him, whatever.
Yeah.
The point is Cam brings a dimension. And again, don't go back to 2015. Go back to the first half of last season before the Pittsburgh game when he hurt his shoulder. Mm-hmm. He was better than what we've seen under center for this team this year. And McCaffrey's now hit another level. And by the way, they have their tight end back at least on the field. Cam has the kind of ability where if he's completing passes at the percent clip he was last year, Stephen A., he has other things he can do that you can't account for. And that premium, once the playoffs start, can be the difference. We saw them ride Cam plus a defense to a Super Bowl where they were competitive. Now add McCaffrey to that mix. Yes, this shows you why they need Cam.
I don't think it proved that they need Cam. I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that I think Kyle Allen is better than a healthy Cam Newton, but I don't think this proved that they beat Cam. A matter of fact, yesterday's loss to Green Bay, a 24-16 loss, is exactly the kind of game that Cam Newton would have lost or won. He would have been up and down about. Inclement weather, you're going up against Aaron Rodgers. It's a nip-and-tuck battle. Primarily, the defense is taking control. You're in a nail-biter. You're battling. You're completing passes here and there, but you couldn't finish the job. We've seen plenty of instances where throwing the football, that was something that Cam Newton wasn't able to do throughout the first 8 years of his career. That is a fact. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I'm not saying, again, that Kyle Allen is better than a healthy Cam Newton. Please don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is yesterday's loss proved nothing to me because that's exactly the kind of game that Cam Newton may have lost in the past.
Or maybe one play wins it.
Or maybe one play win it. I'm just saying, it's been very, very haphazard with him. He wasn't somebody that you could rely upon.
Right, but Kyle Allen, you don't expect to hit that height.
I understand
Cam,
that.
you think maybe can hit that height.
Maybe so, but what I'm saying is, again, the fashion in which that loss took place yesterday, that's the kind of game Cam Newton would have lost under those circumstances, in my opinion.
All right, Patrick Mahomes returned to the field and delivered a 446-yard passing performance, 3 TDs, no interceptions, but it still was not enough as the Chiefs fell to the Titans after a game-winning field goal attempt was blocked. Kansas City now 6-4, only a half game up from the Raiders in the West. Max, it feels like this defense is a liability. Do you still believe in the Chiefs?
I do. Their defense was a liability last year, and I don't think they can play any worse than they've been playing recently. And in terms of the offense, they haven't had all their best weapons available to them all at the same time. You know, so now I got my wires crossed with the Browns because we started talking Kareem Hunt earlier in the show, but now if we start talking about Patrick Mahomes with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, let's understand what Mahomes is doing this year. As great as Lamar Jackson was, and we've seen other big performances, Mahomes is the best player in football again yesterday, right off the patella. Right as soon as he comes back, 400-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Stephen A., again, other than that free play, which the refs botched, which I don't even count that interceptions as nonsense. He did what he was supposed to do. 18 touchdowns, basically no interceptions this year. The same team that should have gone to the Super Bowl last year, I think, has a shot again this year, as bad as that run defense
Well,
is.
they have a shot against it because of Patrick Mahomes. We get that. But come playoff football, the one ingredient you have to have is to be able to defend the run. It's the exact same thing that you lamented about when talking about Green Bay. Matter of fact, I recall you just weeks ago saying you wasn't that stout of a believer in Green Bay because of their frailty against the run. But we're going to ignore it against Kansas City. I'm not doing that. I understand why, because Patrick Mahomes is there, but I'm not doing it. I look at Kansas City, and the fact is, here's what happens with Kansas City when you see that pass from Ryan Tannehill for a touchdown. Here's the reality. Because of the ability to run, you know what set up that touchdown? What was it? I think it was 68-yard run by Derrick Henry. Prior to that, a little bit earlier in the fourth quarter. What I'm saying to you is that because they're so susceptible to the run, it makes them vulnerable against the pass. It completely compromises their defense. And so I look at Kansas City, and I'm going like this. On your home turf at Arrowhead Stadium, you couldn't close the deal because really you couldn't get a stop. So this year, you'll likely have to go on the road to get it done. And I'm supposed to believe your defense is going to show up there? I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Derrick Henry's been doing this to defense, all kinds of defenses all year. He's excellent.
Yeah.
But, again, other than a pre-snap penalty, they're in the Super Bowl last year. And they had a horrible run defense last year. It was terrible. What's the real difference this year? The major components, the coach, the quarterback, the receiver. And like the tight end, all the major components on offense are the same. And if anything, the defense should start playing better, because how do you play worse than that?
Yeah, the defense has to play better. We could argue that tonight's game is the best of the week. A battle in the NFC West tonight when the undefeated Niners host MVP candidate Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Seattle is chasing San Fran for the division title. Stephen A. Who you got tonight?
San Francisco. They're on their home turf. They have the best running game in football, and they have an elite defense. And if there's anything that can beat a Seattle Russell Wilson-led, MVP Russell Wilson-led team, it's something like this. This is the kind of game that Seattle lose. They win a game like this on their home turf. They lose a game like this on the road. I don't think San Francisco's going undefeated this season. I just don't think this is the game that they will lose. You don't have elite receivers for Russell Wilson to throw the football to. You have speed on the defensive side of the ball. You can put somebody in there to spy on him and what have you. You're not going to be able to run so easily against San Francisco, but they run the football, and this kid Kittle is special.
Oh, yes, he is.
He's the second best tight end in football as far as I'm concerned right now.
Second best, maybe. Like, let's see. He's giving Kelce
some run for his money. But this brother is special. Pedersen, these boys can play. I believe this is the kind of game that San Francisco gets up for, just to knock down the naysayers. They show up tonight.
We're thinking of this game very similarly, in the sense that the trap game for the Niners is next week. Cardinals. Right, Cardinals at Niners. There's a trap game. And then you keep looking at the schedule. Packers, they go to the Ravens. They go to the Saints. There are a lot of losable games for the Niners on the schedule. Maybe not this one. And by the way, Seattle run defense versus the Niners defense. I think this is an MVP Russell Wilson type game. I think
really?
it's going to come down.
You think it's the best of the defense?
I think Russell Wilson.